Ready? This is the frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal, nasal, lacrimal, zygomatic, maxilla bone. The sutures are where the bones come together. Coronal suture, sagittal suture, lambdoidal suture, squamosal suture, internasal suture, intermaxillary suture, temporal line, frontal squama, frontal glabella, superciliary ridge, supraorbital foramen, infraorbital foramen, lacrimal bone, lacrimal duct. In the eye orbit, there's 3 openings. We have a round, do we need to wait? Can we come back?
That's okay.
It's a round opening called the optic foramen. And then the upper slit is the superior orbital fissure. The lower slit is the inferior orbital fissure. In the nasal cavity, you have the nasal septum. The bottom is the vomer. The top is the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid. Inferior nasal conchae, middle nasal conchae. Intermaxillary suture. Alveolar margin. Zygomatic bone. Zygomaticofacial foramen. Squamosal suture. Temporal squama. Mastoid process. Styloid process. Externoacutic meatus, zygomatic arch. Here's the suture that separates the zygomatic bone from the temporal bone. On this side of the suture, this is the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. On this side, temporal process of the zygomatic bone. This is the ethmoid bone. Cristigale, cribiform plate, olfactory foramina. Sphenoid bone, lesser wings, greater wings. Foramen rotundum, stella turcica. Anterior clinoid process, posterior clinoid process, dorsum stelli, optic chiasm, hypophyseal fossa, carotid groove. This is the temporal bone, petrous portion of the temporal bone, internoacutic meatus. The brain sits in the anterior, middle, and posterior cranial fossa. This is the maxilla bone, the palatine bone. Incisive foramen, median palatine suture, transverse palatine suture, horizontal plate of the palatine, greater palatine foramen, lesser palatine foramen, vomer, pterygoid process, foramen lacerum, foramen ovale, foramen spinosum, carotid canal, jugular foramen, styloid process, mastoid process, stylomastoid foramen, mandibular fossa, occipital condyles, hypoglossal canal, foramen magnum, condylar fossa, nuchal lines, external occipital protuberance. This is the mandible. The body, mental foramen, alveolar margin, mandibular angle, mandibular notch, mandibular ramus, coronoid process, condyloid process, mandibular foramen, mylohyoid line. Okay. I think this was the